I call the Honourable Member Kamaljeet Bakshi. Sat Sri Akal.
Sat Sri Akal. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. First of all, I would like to congratulate you on your appointment as an Assistant Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it's my privilege to speak on the first reading of the State Amendment Bill number 2. This bill is an omnibus bill which amends a number of different acts. This bill amends 20 different statutes. The Wills Act, which relates to the signing of wills, witness and the validity of the documents. The statutory amendment bill also amends the Charities Act 2005, the Defence Emergency Management Act, the Companies Act, the Criminal Proceeds Recovery Act and the New Zealand Railway Corporation Act. This bill also includes update, amends and definitions will be clarified and simplified for most aspects of these bills. I commend this bill to the House.
I call the Honourable Member Grant Robertson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And as it is the first occasion that I've spoken since you have moved to your new elevated status, can I just acknowledge that? There is some confusion around the House about whether we are in fact blood relatives, and I see today you're wearing the clan tartan tie there, Mr. Speaker, but just for the record, once and for all, we are not related, though I do hold you in the greatest of respect, Mr. Speaker. So I just thought I would clarify that. I stand to speak on the Statutes Amendment Bill number 2, and following on just one speaker before from Rahui Katane, I do have to take up some of the issues that you raised, because standing here in urgency, is this the best that the national government can do? And the question I would have thought that the Māori Party would be asking is this bill the best that the government can do for Māori? Because shouldn't they actually be bringing to this House something that's going to address the appalling rate of unemployment among young Māori? Highest since the Second World War, unemployment among young Māori. Where is the plan to grow opportunities for Māori youth? Where is the plan for training? $55 million taken out of training by this government. Where's the plan to have young Māori in training? Where's the plan to support young Māori into university so that they can be the leaders of tomorrow? Where's the plan for Māori growth in business, for entrepreneurship for Māori? Where is the plan for that? That is the question that I believe the Māori Party should be asking of the government as we are here in urgency today debating the Statutes Amendment Bill. The other matter I want to take up from Rahui Katane is a serious one, and that is the question of funding around anti-violence measures in this country. I was the recipient of a letter, as many other members of this House were, from Women's Refuge. And what that letter told us was that they were concerned that $380,000 had been taken out of their budget. $380,000. That is a cut. That is a cut to an organisation that I think every single member of this House will have respect for. The Women's Refuge down in Christchurch at the moment having to deal with more and more women coming to see them. In my office I've had Women's Refuge in the last year saying, we're full up. We can't take any more people. $380,000 taken from their budget. The end of the Tarito program, a program that Minister Turia used to be championing, but not now. I'm sorry to say that it is not correct for Rahui Katane to stand up and tell us that there haven't been cuts. Women's Refuge wrote to this House. Annette King raised that issue with Paula Bennett and tabled that letter in this House. That is an issue that the Māori Party and others need to be able to answer. And in this bill, we do have a provision about the Domestic Violence Act, but it's not the kind of provision we should be seeing from this government. It's not a plan to be able to address the reduction of domestic violence. It's a tinkering change, just as the rest of this bill is, Mr. Speaker. Because we are here in urgency, and I do want to raise that, Mr. Speaker, that yet again the national government has decided that amendments like those to the Wild Animal Control Act and the Sugarloaf Islands Marine Protected Area Act are the urgent business of this House. Now, there is one thing I can say for the government on this, is at least this bill is going to a select committee. Because in this term of government, 17 bills have come into this House and not been referred to a select committee. 17. That compares with, in the last three terms of the Labour government, 1 in one, 4 in another, and 5 in another. 17 bills. That is actually corrupting the democratic process. It tells you that they don't want to hear from the public, Mr Horomia. That's what it tells you. They don't want to hear from the public. One of the first bills I debated when I became a Member of Parliament was the bill that rammed through Anne Tolley's national standards. That didn't go to a select committee. What could be more important to send to a select committee and get expert opinion, get public opinion, than a fundamental change to the way our children are assessed and the way children's reports are given to parents? A major issue, and this government rammed it through under urgency, didn't send it to a select committee. But today we stand here under urgency debating the Statutes Amendment Bill. This is meant to be a tidy-up kind of bill. As Sandra Gowdy said earlier on, some housekeeping. Well, as my colleague Steve Chadwick said, that's right. Chandra Gowdy's doing the housekeeping. She's polishing up the family silver before the National Party sells it off. That's what they're doing. That's the kind of housekeeping this government's indulged in. Because this bill doesn't give us any kind of direction, any kind of plan for New Zealand. This is the priority. This is the choice the National Party have made today, is to bring this bill before the House. Doesn't provide any kind of economic plan, doesn't help people struggling in New Zealand to pay their food bills, to pay their rent, to pay their power, to put petrol in the car, doesn't help them at all. Here we have the National Party fiddling while Rome burns. But Mr Speaker, if we take a look at one of the clauses, perhaps we do have an inkling of a plan for the National Party, and that is the clause that amends the Marriage Act. Because what actually this clause does is that it allows a person, a New Zealander, who intends to marry outside New Zealand to apply to the Registrar General for a certificate that states that there is no lawful impediment to the marriage. So this is another part of the National Party strategy of running up the white flag, because they know that so many New Zealanders are going to go overseas and they're going to need to get married overseas. They better change the law to make it easier for them. So that's it. Run up the white flag on the economy. Run up the white flag on has given away catching up with Australia, and now he's going to make it easy for all the people who've gone to Australia to get married over there. That's right. Pick it off. This is the first step in giving up on catching up with Australia. You can get married overseas far more easily. Well, that's fantastic. On this side of the House, we actually think we should be working hard to keep people in New Zealand.
Foreign businesses here because workers.
That's right. Mr Horomia is absolutely right, that because there is no plan for the economy, it's only foreign capital that will be in New Zealand, it's only foreign-owned businesses that will be able to do that. On this side of the House, we believe New Zealanders should own their own future. We believe we should keep assets in New Zealanders' control and actually build an economy that works for all New Zealanders, not the economy that this government is trying to build at the moment. Mr Speaker, there are a couple of interesting changes that I think the Select Committee will want to focus on. One's already been mentioned, and that's around amending the definition of a charitable purpose in the Charities Act so that it can include an entity that promotes sport if that purpose is to be, and in fact is, the means by which a charitable purpose will be achieved. I actually want to say in this House that I do think the Charities Act is an area where the last government perhaps didn't get all of the details right. And there are another number of other changes to the Charities Act that might be considered. But again, we have a piecemeal approach to pick this one out. And why just sport? I can absolutely see why organisations whose prime purpose is around sport would want to be able to be included in a charitable purpose. But I've been on the board of charitable organisations who've struggled with the Charities Act, struggled with being able to get their exact purpose to fit. There should be a wider amendment here, but it's a piecemeal, picked off one thing. There is also another reasonably significant change here, and that's an amendment to the Citizens-Initiated Referenda Act. And what this actually does is makes provision for the writ for an indicative referendum to be conducted by postal voting. Now, that's actually probably quite a sensible amendment, but it is a significant amendment. It is something that actually will be meriting of debate in the Select Committee. And I do want to pick up another one of Rahui Katane's points in that regard. I sat on the Government Administration Committee for the last Statutes Amendment Bill. And while there are no objections to these clauses being put in front of the House, what does happen in the Select Committee process is that we get witnesses coming in, we get evidence in front of the committee, and actually decisions are made that perhaps we shouldn't carry on with it. So while we are supporting this bill on the first reading, as we do with any bill that comes to this House, when it comes to Select Committee, if the National Party let it go there, we will listen to the submissions and make our decision then on whether we support every single aspect of this bill. As others have mentioned, Mr Speaker, there are some very small, minor matters of tidying things up. I know my colleague Ruth Dyson will be delighted to see that the Civil Defence and Emergency Management Act will now correctly spell Littleton. which it hasn't previously done until now. So that's a change I know that she will be happy with. But overall, Mr Speaker, there's very little in this bill at all that will give New Zealanders comfort that there is a government in place that has a plan to make their lives better. Quite the opposite, in fact. We have a government who has run up the white flag on their plan to catch up with Australia, and the best they can do, as my colleague Rick Barker said, is increase the number of directors on the New Zealand Railways Corporation board from 7 to 9. Increasing bureaucracy, doing the opposite of what they say they're going to do. That's the mantra of this government. That's what this bill shows us.
Well done. Outstanding. Who's this?